Hey gang, so we finally made it back to our base, and you can kind of see, yeah, building out that power plant. I only showed one trip, but just because the tractor can't carry that much and I ran so much spaghetti, I used way more reinforced iron plates than I thought. And while I was coming back here to grab reinforced iron plates, I realized not as many things were I forgot to hook up a couple lines, and so the reinforced plates were probably producing about a fifth what they should. And so I fixed that. I had to hand make a bunch of reinforced iron plates. Short version is I made a lot of trips and it took a lot of time to make that base out there. But now we're back. Now we got the capacity. Now we can start doing some really fun stuff as far as we're constructing. And you can kind of see that there's something up there in the upper left-hand corner, but I'm not going to show that to you. No, I'm kidding. Of course, we're going to look at it. Yeah, so I have unlocked some things in the Awesome Sink, and we're going to be unlocking a lot more shortly. So, goal for today is get this thing cleaned up for real and producing everything up to modular frames efficiently. We're going to clean up this bad boy, and we're going to start producing the first elevator, or the first space elevator parts, the one that we already did, the smart plates. We're going to start producing them automatically with the overflow from this base around the base that I'm going to build out here. Final thing that I want to put in this intro is that for some reason OBS had an update or something going on that reset my bitrate in my recording. So yeah, I spent a long time trying to figure that one out. I think I got it figured out, so we will find out. All right, okay, after that long intro, let's get this. Okay, so oops, time passed. I went and I walked my dog and now it's night, but I think you can still kind of see what's going on. So we have a few housekeeping things to do before we get started, but first let's talk about, let's go ahead and do some unlocks and then we'll talk about what's going on over here. So actually, first, let's look at this. So you can sort of see our power plant over on the far side of the world is right up here at 3,000 megawatts, which is impressive for the early game. You're going to see that I believe that is less than one nuclear generator produces, and we're going to be producing a lot of those because some of the later things take a lot of power. And then this light gray line up here, our total capacity, you'll notice it's 270 higher. That's because it's including the biomass burners, which I'll keep them as kind of a backup power source, but nothing we have is gonna keep running because it has 270 power in it. So we ignore the light gray line for now and concentrate on the dark gray line. Yeah, so let's get going. So for those of you who caught the stinger at the end of the last episode, I found a SAM node and managed to collect 400. So let's go ahead and do some of those unlocks because those can be some pretty cool things.
Strange alien matter analysis completed. Dormant crystalline SAM can now be found with the resource scanner. In its dormant state, it is safe to handle without special equipment and can be stored indefinitely. Research for enabling the reanimation of dormant SAM is now available.
Fill the rivers with blood and let the effigies defile our temples. The sun will follow.
That's a little ominous. So let's look at this. Yep, we have enough to unlock that. Let's do it.
SAM reanimation recipe unlocked. SAM can now be safely awakened, provided it is contained. Meaning, if not contained in special electromagnetic storage, it tends to start breaking atomic bonds of any matter it has physical contact with, and reconstructing it into easily transportable resources.
Scripture and blood compose harmony. Follow our hallowed temple halls and listen to the echoes of your ripples. Our bones are more beautiful than yours.
Rude. So this one, we're gonna need 10 of these guys. How do we make these guys? So 4 Sam make 1 reanimated Sam, and we need 10 of them. I think we got enough to do that. Let's try it. Hopefully we can do it in this. There we go.
SAM Fluctuator recipe unlocked. The fluctuator can mimic unique communication through patterns of electric frequencies to instruct reanimated SAM to perform specific tasks or give specific restrictions, such as matter to energy conversion. It can also function as matter memory, reading the exact composition and state of a collection of matter in one location, breaking it down, and near instantly reconstructing it in another location, which has incredible potential for smart storage.
Your threads shift solid to fluid to a tapestry. Matter, and mind and melody.
All right. What do we need to unlock this guy? Because this is what I want right now. This one will come later. So we need a Mercer Sphere and 11 Fluctuators. Let's go ahead and get that rocking. And let's see what it... Oh, we need the next level up. Is that right? Yeah, we need to build the other thing. Okay, so how do we build that thing? Sam Fluctuator. Let's see. We need 11 of these. So we need more reanimated Sam. And done. What do we got?
Dimensional Depot unlocked. SAM can be utilized to deconstruct matter down to its chemical elements in one dimension, and the Mercer Sphere allows it to be transferred and stored in another. Once parts are fed into the Dimensional Depot, they can be accessed by the Pioneer Inventory and Build Gun system at any time, anywhere.
We see through the window. It is pathetic. Consume more blood. The glass will not shatter, the metal will not bend, the wood will not splinter. Weave.
That is getting ominous. That is getting real ominous. So let's go ahead and look at these. So manual depot uploader enables uploading from the inventory. That is super duper useful. But we're going to need more Mercer Spheres, and we are going to need a ton more Sam. So let's go ahead and work on the next thing. I'll focus on that later. So one of the things I unlocked last time was on top of all of these aesthetic things, I also unlocked this. This is a blueprint builder, and what we are going to use this for, you'll never guess, blueprints. So what is a blueprint? As you can see, there's a pretty big room. I've basically set this whole thing up. Eventual plan is probably to have a train come in and loop around this. The base will be built around that. But for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at this blueprint, because now that we're going to remake this base for real, I don't want to have to come back to it like this again and build it again. So we're going to build a blueprint so that when we're going through and making things, we can lay down this base very efficiently and very quickly. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is just sort of an example of what's going on here. Basically what I'm doing is I am setting up, consider this kind of the subfloor or the utility floor. This is where I'm going to be running all my wires, my pipes, my lines of resources through. Is going to be through this area. So I want enough room that I can run several resources, or 2 resources tall. For some of the larger things, I might expand it, but for right now, this is all I need. But I want to set this as kind of my base for what I'll be using. And this is built on a 1 meter platform next to a 2 meter. Wait, is that right? That's a meter? Wow. Okay. Yeah, 1 meter, 2 meter, and then the 4 meter here. That's how tall this thing is. So if you did that math, that's 7 meters tall, which is fine. You need to be a little bit careful when you're deleting things in here because you can be deleting out buildings in the background, which I have done in the past and then fallen through those holes later. But let's go ahead and set up a template here and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we got this one saved. So basically what this is a basic smelter. I've just got the height of it set up so that is the perfect height so that if I put a roof over that or another wall, it'll have enough clearance to get over it. I've color coded it to the way I like. I typically don't color code the merger, which is on the output, or the splitter, which is on the input, just because the color they are kind of tells me what they are. But yeah, so this is our first template or our first blueprint. So this is all saved. Now, every time I do, oh, and I do have like a little space here where I can walk. Just if I start laying these things down in a big wide open space, I won't, while I'm sitting here trying to get things to work, I won't drop off the edge. The wire or the power is already hooked up from below, so I can run power along this subfloor and basically just make it look pretty neat. It's going to look like there's no power lines in this thing, which is kind of what I'm going for. So I'm going to make a few more blueprints. I'll be back in a bit and we will talk about how we're going to take down the old factory without having a bunch of crates. So catch me in a couple. Okay, that part's done. Basically, with your blueprints, you always kind of want to make sure that they're as clean as possible because going back and cleaning them up is kind of a problem. And talking about cleanup, let's talk about this. So there is a good way and a bad way to take apart the base. The good way is this. First of all, cut off the means of production. So now what we've done is we've made sure that no more ore is going to come in here. We're going to go to the end of this thing. I'm going to do something mildly cheeky here, and we're going to cut off the last lines feeding into these storage containers. Now these storage containers we want to keep. The base that we're building is going to be larger, so these probably won't be enough. We're going to get the materials back from these guys, but having these here as a reserve in case we need plates or reinforced plates or rotors, that kind of thing, we've got enough storage here that we should be able to complete the base. And we've got enough concrete that thing's going to keep going. Now what we can do is now we kind of want the lines to clear themselves. Otherwise, if we were to go through and start deleting, you can see that not only is that assembler going to give me the parts that make the assembler, it's going to give me 500 screws, 104 rotors, and what else? 200 rods. The 8 reinforced plates and the wire are what actually make up the assembler. The other stuff is the stuff that's going into the assembler and the stuff that's going to be coming out of it. So if you go and you delete a whole bunch of these, you're going to end up with these little crates everywhere that you're going to have to delete or take the stuff out of. And it's kind of a pain in the ass, and it's something that frustrates a lot of players. There is a way to do this. So now that we've cut off the means of production, so there's not more stuff coming into the factory, we're going to feed all of these into the awesome sink. Now this doesn't need to look pretty at all. We are just trying to get everything we produced The only thing that we're trying to do now is clear out all of these lines. So everything that is sitting in these lines in this production is going to start feeding into the Awesome Sink. It's a little bit of a waste, but this is also kind of a sneaky way to not only get rid of all of those boxes and cut out any chance that those boxes fill up this space and we have to have a massive cleanup job, is also going to give us a buttload of tickets or coupons that we're going to use to help modify our base and make it look prettier. So it's kind of a catch-22. So all we need to do now is wait until these lines clear out. Ideally, just because we're kind of at a low tier factory here, most of these things will produce until they're empty. Like, there's not many things that are like 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 or anything like that. And even if they are, we might end up with just 2 ore in one of the smelters down there. Or, I guess, 2 ingots in one of the constructors that's making plates. And that's about it. We're going to end up with a couple items left over here and there. And then the other thing we're going to do is put down a big storage crate over here and store all of our stuff in there, just so we don't have anything in our inventory that is taking up room. And then we can kind of fill it with the things that we know we're going to need. Like, we know that we're going to be making a bunch of tier 3 belts, so we're going to keep those in there. We know that we're going to be making a lot of platforms, so we need to keep the concrete in there. But things like miners and the zip line, we don't need those right now. We don't even really need these guys, because as we're going through and deleting, we're going to be picking other stuff up. So now we just kind of let the lines clear, and I'll show you where we go from there. So just to kind of give you a visual example of what this looks like, all of the ore has cleared out of these lines, so we can actually just start deleting those lines. The smelters are still working because they can hold up to 100 ore, so they're kind of working their way through, but eventually these will empty out, and you'll see these ingots empty out, and these lines will be empty, and by the time these lines are empty, then you can delete these and just follow the line on down until this is just a big empty space with those 4 containers, and the Awesome Sink is all that's going to be left. So let's see what it looks like then. All right, and here we go. Everything's been removed. Probably the hub is up next, so we'll take the hub down, take the MAM down. Trying to remember if there's anything else. One thing we don't want to do is cut off power for our concrete factory, because we're going to be laying down a ton of concrete. And then we've got all of our goods are still down there. Everything else has been removed. Kind of starting it here, I'm thinking the center of the base is going to be here, or the center of the factory is going to be here. One thing I need to consider is that I want a train station here, I guess centered on this. I don't have the exact dimensions of the train, which is a problem, but the factory will probably be laid out over here, same place that the other one was, but it'll be with a little more verticality, and I'll try to make it a little prettier, so we'll go with that. Let's go ahead and reroute the power. I'll get this platform mostly deleted again, except for those things, and lay down our first base. So let's get into it. All right, so here we are over in the iron mine. Before we get to what I've done, or the steel mine, before I get to what I've done for the iron mine, I thought that I would show you this. So this right here is an unlock for the alien technology tree. That orb that we got, the Mercer sphere, you can use it to create this storage unit. You'll notice that I built one for each. So what that does is if I open my inventory, you can sort of see I have my inventory here, but then I've got this little arrow to the side. So what it does is it enables me to tap into those resources. So I can tap into steel beams, reanimated Sam. I set up a quick miner down in that cave just to kind of keep that coming out, since apparently it's going to be a thing we're going to need. And steel pipes. Just what it will allow me to do is if I'm building something like, let's say, conveyor belts, you see how it's purple and the other three are orange? What that means is that it's tapping into this first, and then it will tap into whatever I've got in my inventory. So it'll drain out this 200 in this storage unit. It basically teleports it into my inventory to use first, before it starts tapping what's actually in my backpack, or I guess my pockets, since I don't have a backpack. But yeah, very cool, very useful. Now I want to build more, but I need a lot more Mercer spheres in order to pull it off. Right now it's kind of throttled by how quickly it can take things and the amount. So, I mean, the volume isn't that high. You can see that it only holds 200, which is one stack, which isn't that much, but it is enough to kind of give me, like when I'm building, I don't have to run all the way back here. Okay, let's look and see what happened with the iron mines. So I created a quick copper mine here, and just kind of show you where we're at with the power situation. Power is up here. Our max construction is down here. So our max construction is 1500. So even though I went way more efficient and created a couple higher tier items and a couple new factories like that copper mine you see in the background, I still haven't really tapped into this, and that's by design, because we're going to have to start making things in the iron line, and we're going to have to start making motors and stators is kind of the next step up. I'm building copper here. You can see that I have half going off to this storage. Basically anything in excess goes into storage, and then the wire goes off down into the cave. And what I'm probably going to do is pull the pipes over and put them in there, because in order to make this the SAM fluctuator, you can see what it takes is it takes the, what is it, secured SAM, or 5 wire and 3 pipes. And so I can just start making a production line with just that, which is what you need in order to produce those storage units. That and Mercer spheres, which right now I've only found like 6 or 7 total, and you use them when you research. So I've only been able to build 3 of those little terminal things. But anyway, let's look at this. Yeah, so that's grown up a little bit. Still haven't touched the base of the space elevator, but that's up next. That'll probably be next episode. I'll start with what I've done with the space elevator, because I want to make one of the space elevator parts. Building this took a long time, and you'll kind of see why when we get close to it. Again, still needs to have aesthetics finished on it, but it's getting there. So let's go take a closer look. So we'll start here. You've seen this, but I've cleaned it up a little bit. Still need to finish off a couple parts of it, but that's a lower priority. The blueprint maker, very, very important for larger builds. Otherwise, you're going to be spending days building things. One thing I want to show you is on this little catwalk right here. So let's go take a look. So if you come up here, you got your blueprint maker kind of off the beaten path. I'll get to what that is in a second. But if I come over here, this switch, this is all of the power coming in. Even that miner there is hooked up on the far side. So the cables are actually going through the wall, hooking up to it, and then hooking up there. If I flip this switch, it will shut off this entire factory. And I'm going to set up all of my factories the same way, that there will be power coming in from the power plants, but each factory can be individually shut off. And you can sort of see that there's a little gap there and a gap there. Those will be filled in, but let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on here. So eventually the true entrance to this factory will be right there. And you might be asking yourself why there's this huge area right here that I've kind of spent a little bit of time prettying up. And that's because later in the game, you can get trains. And this is going to be the landing spot for the train. And what the train will pick up will be all of the iron commodities that I make here. So I've got plates, screws, rods, which are all tier 1. Then I've got rotors and reinforced plates, which are kind of tier 3. And then I've got modular frames, which are kind of tier 3. And so that is everything you can build on the iron line. I'm going to kind of do something similar with copper here in just a minute, because this is going to be kind of one-stop shopping. Now, the way that I have built these is with a sub-basement. And so the sub-basement is where all of the pipes are running, and all of the mergers, all the stuff, all of the power lines. So you can see there's power lines underneath. So if you come up here on the factory floor, you've got almost nothing that's visible. Even the power, these things almost look like they're wireless, but you can see the wires coming down right there. But these are all blueprints, and all efficient. And so if you come down here, obviously this is all the tier 1 stuff. So this is making the plates and rods, and I think screws are being made on this level too. But here you can see everything going up for the higher tier items, and you can see the higher tier items coming down. So if we wait here a couple seconds, there goes a rotor and there go the frames. So with those, they're a little bit harder to make. They take a little bit longer, but I've set it up so it'll be producing about 10 a minute, which is pretty good. So we got the hub here. So hub gets kind of a nice view of the sunrise. And then right off the hub, we have the stairs that go up. And each area or each level has its own subfloor. And again, I keep this consistent where everything kind of feeds in from one side and flows back to front. I'll have another entrance in the background there. You can kind of see that it's open to space. We don't want that in the end, but that's the way it is right now. And then of course you can just walk up onto the factory floor right here. And you can sort of see there's walkways along there, and I'm going to pull those out when I'm done with it. But yeah, this is all the higher level stuff. So this is going to be rotors and reinforced plates, I believe. Yeah, that's this floor. So that's what all of this is. You can kind of see that I've got this guy set up, the awesome sink, and I'll show you what I'm doing there in just a minute. But I've kind of set up everything that the hub needs, like a machine shop, the MAM, and the fix-it shop is right on the other side of this. Let's go ahead and look at the top floor. So again, you go up this ladder, you can get to the subfloor. One thing I like building the subfloor this tall is that you can actually do things like having belts run over and under one another, which kind of helps with some of the logistics. And then we're on the top floor. I'm still trying to decide if I actually want to enclose this, like actually have a roof over it, or kind of leave it open. I think I'll put walls on these things, but I might make them glass. But for right now, like I was saying, this is kind of the way it's going to be. So let's go ahead to the very bottom floor and I'll show you what's going on. So this is where all of the ore is coming in. It feeds into the entire factory. Guys, see that it goes to all the smelters from here. but all of the goods, even the goods that are coming in on the top floor, are coming in on these lines. Looks like reinforced plates are going a little bit slow. I might have to look at that line and make sure I didn't forget to turn something on. And I just saw the frame go in there, so we're good. But basically what it does is everything comes down here and feeds into this, which is a smart splitter. And it has one line coming out here. And when the train gets here, I'm going to feed all of these lines out to the train. So the train will be filling up on all of these goods and taking it to like a central storage unit. Anything that is in excess of what's in the train goes up into those storage containers that you saw, which are right above us. And then if all of those are full up, then anything in excess is fed out this way onto what's called a sushi belt. You can just sort of see it has a little mix of everything. And all of that excess is being fed into the awesome sink. And so what that means is that our factory will never shut down, but it also means we're going to get a crap ton of tickets, which is kind of a nice problem to have. And I realized that I never rebuilt this when I took it down. There. Built myself a little platform so I don't have to slide under things. Let's see. Yep, I can easily move under that. So now the question is if I want to spend a bunch of time prettying this up, or if I want to keep going in the playthrough, which I think I might go for that. I might start trying to go the story because this is producing at 100%. Now I need to get, or peak efficiency. And now I need to get copper doing the same thing and have concrete doing the same thing and get concrete on the same level. And then I can focus on cleaning this up. Basically the plan, and I think I said this in the first episode, is now that I have the parts starting to be made, the space elevator parts, and I can see another Mercer sphere right there. The space elevator parts, the things that kind of ramp us up the actual levels, are going to be built in a sort of circular factory around the space elevator. I just thought that that would be kind of a cool way to do it. Although I know some of the future items for the spaceport are complicated. Which is actually a good point. You can kind of see that I built this thing out right here. One of the things I was debating was build the central storage right here. Usually I put it in the center of the map, but once we have trains coming through, this might make more sense. So I might just run those lines rather than running them to a train station, is run them over here and use the train station as kind of a central depot and a way to unload into this thing. So maybe this becomes my central storage. So you see, talking to you guys helped me. All right, gang, that's all we got for this one. I think next time we're going to work on prettying this up, building that factory to build the first space elevator parts, and possibly clean this stuff up and start getting iron going so that we can unlock the next tier of the space elevator and get the story rolling. Sound good? Catch you next time.